Imagine a vibrant discussion between people that includes both openness and critical thought in the pursuit of truth. The Purchasing Truth podcast is an experience, a journey, an exploration of the impact that negative messages in politics and the media have on our families, community, society, and nation. Join your hosts, Bill Stierle and Tom Hazard, to discover new concepts and language strategies that will reveal effective ways of establishing truth. This podcast series will tackle current events, leadership challenges, healthcare confusion, integrity in business, and many other areas that affect us all. Gain clarity and understanding of the various truth perspectives. Welcome to Purchasing Truth.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Purchasing Truth. I'm Tom Hazard, along with your host, Bill Stierle. And you know, Bill, just when I think I can't be shocked anymore.
Yes.
And you know, you and I, we talk about this. We have a plan for these shows. We have, you know, subjects we line up in a Google Doc to prepare. And we have these ones we've had for a long time. We keep pushing down the list because something new happens that's even more shocking, noteworthy, and in need of discussion. It boggles my mind sometimes, but should it?
I appreciate. It's important to understand, Tom, the relationship between how truth gets purchased by generating the feeling of shock. See, the feeling of shock is a protective emotion inside the body. Shock is utilized to cause attention as well as protection. So if I see a car accident or hear a car accident, my body will go into a state of shock. When you hear you're outside your house and you live in a pretty calm area, if you hear a car backfire, doesn't your body tense up?
Oh, absolutely.
Right. It tenses up. So you go like, where is that? What is that? So shock as an emotion gets to hijack truth because the mind is wired to overprotect. Our bodies are engaged in the process to look for danger. The challenge, though, when you hear it from the podium of a press conference, then what happens is shock actually is utilized not necessarily on purpose by the president, because I think he many times, as a marketing and a promotion person, is used to spitballing crazy ideas with a team of people looking to get crazy ideas out into the market in order to sell real estate. I mean, it's real estate. Come on now. It's a room. Is Trump Tower the best tower ever in New York? Arguably, no. It's not the best.
I wouldn't think so. I mean,
there's nicer places. I think I've stayed at a few. Okay, so the feeling of shock is a tough emotion for us as human beings to design, because when it's aligned with a traumatic experience, if somebody sees a car accident, I just had a flashback, or somebody sees a car accident where someone has died, the body needs to process that over the field of time. It becomes an indelible mark inside our long-term memory, and it will, just like it did inside my mind, show back up in my body. I literally transported 23 years within the moment of talking about how the memory, where's the memory? It was at night. All of a sudden we hear sirens outside my office building. I come down the office building with a friend of mine. Him and I walk out to the street, and sure enough, a homeless person who was walking across the street and got hit by a car and died right there.
Wow.
Now, my body got transported that because the feeling of shock didn't want to process that all in that moment and feel sad or horrified about it. It wasn't a person I know, but it was still humanity, which I am. I'm an animal just like she was. My life has a death to it, just like all of ours do. And we don't want to process it. We don't want to do it. So we stick it in long-term memory. And then all of a sudden, when a discussion about shock comes up, it says, "Oh yeah, remember this moment you haven't fully processed yet about your own death? Hey, it's coming. It's tapping on your shoulder." So when the president says a statement that is so shocking and so surprising to us as human beings, we struggle. We really, really struggle. And we can't help but take the bait. We can't help to take the bait. Even people say, wait a minute, is that possible? If I get a disinfectant on the inside, will that protect me? That person's not stupid anymore.
In
See,
their
the person
own,
that's listening,
from what perspective, though? I mean, are they not
from the
stupid
perspective
anymore?
of safety and protection.
I see.
See, they're going after a need and they're listening to somebody they respect. He doesn't see that he has that power. That you can't spitball a creative idea to create a shock or a way to solve this problem from a very outside of the box situation. This is why we don't have very creative presidents. They're not creative. They don't necessarily do what's best. And when they are trying to make change, this is why government is not built around change. Entrepreneurialism is built around change, and government should, or it works best when it supports competitive entrepreneurialism. That's when it works best. It doesn't work best when the biggest person gets to gobble everything up. It doesn't work best there. It works best when you foster these innovations. That's when it works best.
Right. And it also works well if there's any, brainstorming about what can be done. That's done in closed doors. Yes. It's not done from the podium.
And then you pick your best 2 or 3 talking points to come out on the stage. This is why President Bush could run a, quote, semi-successful presidency for 2 terms. Why? Why was he able to run it for, 2 terms? Because all that spitball and all that creativity, he's just more the mouthpiece than he is the person that is pulling the decision. It's Cheney and Rumsfeld making the decisions, and others that are crafting the message and picking the thing and trying to fly their agenda under the radar of the American public, which they did very successfully, very, very successfully. It was really successful how they were able to run their agenda underneath the radar of the media, under the radar of government, and be able to hijack the voter. Did a great job. Great job.
They did, with somebody who, if let to speak freely from the podium, might not have been, so incredibly different from the current occupant of the White House in some ways, not in sort of in some of the needs that the current president has. But I do think that George W. Bush had sort of a style that was kind of casual, and there are a lot of things he might have wanted to say, but he was more disciplined, though, not
way
to say
more
those things.
And grew up in a family of public servants.
Right.
He grew up in a family of public servants. Even though his grandfather was an oil guy, I believe, and they're an oil family, but they made a shift to public service, and they spent time in doing what they thought was best for the public. We don't have that guy right now.
No, we don't. We don't have a public
We don't
servant.
have
We
that
have
guy.
a self-servant, or among other things.
Yeah, well, he meets his need for, acknowledgement and recognition at the expense of truth. He does. He'd rather get acknowledged and recognition, and be in front instead of truth, and very, very difficult. And we're up to, I think we're getting close to 60,000 people that have passed now.
Right.
And when we get to 100,000, he will start praising himself.
Oh my gosh, that's a scary thought.
No, I mean, he will. He started praising himself. He'll say the following sentence: to meet his need for acknowledgement and recognition. Boy, it's really glad that we're at the low end of the estimate, because it was initially predicted that 100,000 to 250,000 people would pass. Look at how good we did. We only kept it to 100,000. That's exactly the message in 90 days.
And it will get over 100,000. I think at this time, people, sort of forget.
Easy.
As some of the states are starting to open up, it's not like all the cases have happened and all the deaths have happened. It's just maybe gone over the very peak of the curve and starting to trend down, which means easily a good half of the people that are going to die have not died yet. Easily.
That's right. Yeah, easily. So it's very difficult. And Tom, this experience human beings have with our emotions getting hijacked, and it's hijacking because the brain really wants protection, and the one way that it gets protection is creating a form of truth perspective that causes a protective thought. So what happens is that I am going to believe this person because I have extended trust to this person. I'm not skeptical about him because he told me that he's done these great things. I see him as a great person. I don't see this other person as a great person. It's like comparing Ronald Reagan to Jimmy Carter. I don't see this person, one person is a great person, one person's not a great person. I could think many people would say Ronald Reagan was smarter than Jimmy Carter. Ronald Reagan could never be a captain of a nuclear submarine like Jimmy Carter was. He was a captain of a nuclear submarine. You gotta be smart to do that. You gotta be smart. You gotta know everything inside this.
Yeah, no,
tube.
Definitely takes a lot of skill.
You gotta be smart.
Yeah.
Ronald Reagan running that ship? No. Ronald Reagan being a spokesman style president, he could do that. Smart? Nah. Not giving it to you. No way in comparison. And so public servant, Jimmy Carter's the public servant.
Well, he's certainly proven that in spades post-president. I mean, he obviously served as president, but he continued to live a life of service, Habitat for Humanity, and all that, right? Well,
yeah,
so
and he went after her. Yeah, it's really important to watch how the emotion of shock, to come back to our title here, for reporters and the public not to take the bait and just name it. We feel shocked. It doesn't meet the need for protection to do what the president recommended. It's not safe to do what the idea the president floated. Start calling the president an idea generator. Do not start calling him that. Hey, he's floating a marketing idea. This is the type of president that we have. He floats marketing ideas. It's not really fully true. What we keep calling him a liar, but really he's just floating marketing ideas. Oh, this is the type of leader we have, somebody that floats marketing ideas. It's not the strongest public servant we have, but it's the one that he has sold to the American public, and they voted for him. Notice that actually wakes up the voter that voted for him. Oh, I voted for a marketing guy. I voted for an ad guy. I voted for a promoter. I voted for a salesman. That's what I voted for.
Yeah, they tend to think they voted for somebody who's going to change things in Washington, right? Originally, drain the swamp, whatever. And definitely he's changed things in Washington, that's for sure. Regrettably, it's not always for the better, because here's the thing. He doesn't realize the power, or maybe that's the wrong word. He probably does realize the power. He doesn't really understand the consequences that can happen when he speaks from that podium and he says, hey, well, disinfectant on the inside of the body, that would help things, right? And the doctor doesn't immediately say, no, sir, it won't. Please don't do that. The doctor just sort of is squirming in their chair and trying to not to contradict the president. And then people, we've seen since that, the calls into poison control lines have really spiked recently, because some people are believing they should go and take action on what the president said. That's scary.
It is scary. So notice the need for safety for the person that's calling in, the need for protection for the person that's calling in. They don't want to get this bad thing. And also, Tom, what you just pointed out there is when the medical expert is asked a question that is so far from truth and it doesn't meet the need for safety and protection inside her own mind, she felt shocked and she shut down. Her best response to him is saying, interesting idea, Mr. President. It doesn't meet the need for safety and protection. Regrettably, that may cause more harm and damage to a person because our bodies are too sensitive for the process you mentioned. The way the truth and the recommendation that we're putting forth at this time is safety and protection can be met by staying home. Done. Done. But she doesn't have access to my skills. He's checked out. The news people are swimming in, oh my gosh, look at the shocking thing he just said. See, their bodies are filled with doubt, skepticism, shocked, overwhelmed. Some of them are completely speechless. They couldn't even do a follow-up question that had any strength to it. And he tried to pivot in the middle of the thing, and somebody's, Mr. President, you hear it on the tape.
Right.
That's what the emotion of shock does. Is it shuts off your ability to speak. It shuts off the ability to hear. And just like that poor woman that crossed the street, homeless person that got hit by a car, it's the same experience of shock. It's like, it's a shocking thing. It grabs our emotion as the human body, and we can't speak. Let me say it this way. The logic and the rational part of our brain goes offline when the limbic part of the brain tries to protect us, just to put it into physiology. It just shuts us off. And truth gets hijacked. Trust gets run over by a truck. I mean, and the next president has to do so much work to restore trust. So much work to restore trust. So much work regarding being a public servant.
Yeah,
So
it's very, that's true. And it really sets up the next president for probably failure on a lot of levels of certain things that aren't going to get progress or attention because of that need to restore that trust, to have a reconciliation. That's unfortunate.
Well, if Joe Biden and his team are listening right now, and maybe we should just tag Joe Biden here, because
Let's do that.
His team needs to hear that what's so important moving forward. And it's like the first thing that needs to be launched is a Truth and Reconciliation tour. A Truth and Reconciliation tour made up of a bipartisan group of respected Republicans and Democrats, not the ones that have fought the battle for truth, the ones that are more above the fray, that are interested in public service and restoring public trust as a public servant and what governments are, the ones that are more in alignment with what it takes to get the public to move in a direction for the best interest of America. And this Truth and Reconciliation tour, this public service and government tour, and it's got to be marketed really well about what does it take to get people to look at America and restore respect and recognition with our good deeds and our the might that America can generate. Because there's a lot of wealth in America, it'll take less than 4 years to restore it. But the wealth has to show up to do it. I mean, it's got the best and the brightest have got to go, all right, everybody, here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to restore trust in government. This is what we're going to do to roll up our sleeves to do this. And get the people on both sides of the aisle that can stay above the fray. Now, regrettably, it's a little thin for certain people on the Republican side of the fence to show up there, but there's a wonderful group with the, I think it's called the Lincoln Project, the former Republican folks that are bound together to work to move to move past Trumpism and get back to Republicanism.
Yeah.
So there's a group of folks. I like all of them. All of them are like really great, respectful, steely-eyed Republican, going like, listen, we gotta handle some of these things. And the Republican Party went in the wrong direction and we got hijacked. Yeah. So anyways, does that make sense to you?
Yeah, it does. And I just wanted to, look it up, called the Lincoln Project, apparently dedicated Americans protecting democracy. It seems that George Conway is involved in this, who's Kellyanne Conway's husband. And I think he's a good example of someone. George Conway, Reed Galen, Jennifer Horn. There's, Steve Schmidt, who, if you remember him,
one of my favorite guys.
He's a really good guy. He was the campaign manager for John McCain running for president.
Right.
Both times he ran for president.
Yeah.
So I think you're right. These are people that have been shown
Steve
to have
Smith's
some
podcast is very good too.
Steve Schmidt, yeah.
He's got a great podcast too. Yeah, it's a good one because he's doing the same thing you and I are doing on the other side, but also I've listened to 3 of his things, and I haven't even thought about that, but even looking over his stuff, I'm feeling a general sense of confidence that him and I are very, very close on how we talk about truth and how we can have a safe discussion about truth. And even though we have some different views or ideas about how to get to those things, it would be a vibrant discussion. vibrant discussion to have him in the mix.
Well, it would be, because I do believe he, among, well, I don't know all those people on the Lincoln Project. I know who some of them are for sure, but and
Sure.
those that I know definitely put country over party. And I think they've demonstrated that by speaking
Right.
out against the president, right? Because they're, um, Trump is not in alignment with their vision for America. And
Right.
I respect them all very much for speaking their mind. And that would be an incredible discussion. I would love to be in the room for that if it ever happened. That'd be fantastic. Um,
It's awesome. Awesome.
but you're right, though, that people that have a common vision for, America moving forward, it's very interesting. John McCain, at the time when he ran against, George W. Bush the first time in 2000, um, you know, admittedly, I at the time was thinking, well, I'm probably more in Al Gore's camp and going to vote for Al Gore. But McCain made me really think, and if McCain had gotten that nomination over George W. Bush, that would have been a tougher vote decision for me, because I did see McCain at that time in
At that
2000.
time.
And later against
Yeah.
Barack Obama, he sort of had to move to the right in order to get the nomination. And,
Right.
I still respected John McCain his whole career, but I don't know that I would not have voted for him in 2008, but in 2000, I really considered that, the maverick, the guy who's, the Straight Talk Express, and, there's a lot that was respectful, and I continue to respect him in his last, months in the Senate, as he voted to protect the Affordable Care Act and didn't just toe the party line, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
That vote, I really respected him about. I really appreciated that. And I kind of wish he would have voted against himself regarding the tax break. If he would have done that,
yes,
I would have seen the public servant in him come out. He didn't make that choice, though, due to various pressures and things like that from those around him. And but I really respect him for really protecting a lot of Americans with that social service choice. So very, very important.
yep, agreed. So there is hope, isn't there, for
There is
America and
hope.
a
There is hope
restoration?
for America. There is hope, and a lot of times we leave our show as a screeching halt, right? We come to it as like, now what? But actually, this show is this particular show about dealing with the emotion of shock. Notice you and I are not shocked or feeling as outraged about President's disinfectant comment. Notice shock is gone. And we're just staring it down, going like, all right, that's what he did, and that's who he is. And yeah, it doesn't meet the need for truth, and it was not a well-placed moment. And people are going to be ruminating about this. Think how long this is going to last. Months, all the way up to the election.
Oh, well, the memes are
Months.
not going to go away, right? Above people injecting,
They're not going away.
disinfectant. They're all over the internet. No one's going to forget this.
No, inside the Trump voter, they're going like, yeah, we voted for the crazy guy because we're the crazy guy. It is an identity piece now for them. That look at the next outrageous thing he's going to do. He did it on his reality shows. He does it in his private life, looking for opportunities to market and promote, say a crazy off the wall thing, enlist or look at a distressed property and take it over and turn it into a golf course. That's what he's done. Take advantage of beautiful places and put one of his properties there. Yeah, this is a wonderful facility. So very, very challenging, though. how truth is. Notice how it's a little flat and a little disheartening all of a sudden since I brought it back around to there. Our emotions go up and down like a roller coaster, but we can restore these things. We can restore truth and trust. We can move past the feeling of shock that our nation has been through for, now 3.5 years. We can move past shock. I mean, hey, South Africa did it with apartheid. We most certainly can do it with this traumatic page in our history. It was a lot shorter if we get on it.
Yeah.
If we get on it, if we're up to it. If we're not up to it,
well,
then we'll have to see.
People need to get out and vote, and hopefully they're not too afraid to leave their homes to go vote, or voting is going to be made easier. These are some interesting subjects maybe for a future episode, but
I agree.
Yeah,
absolutely. So Tom,
cool.
The thing to take away here is that the feeling of shock you can stare down, but you've got to also be ready with your own trigger points of protection, safety, and truth and trust being pushed all at the same time. And if they're all pushed at the same time, shock has got to show up as an emotion. Shock, doubt, skepticism, horrified. All the reporters in that room when he went into this monologue were doing this.
Yeah, there was definitely a chin drop moment.
I was just dropping my chin for those of those. They were all they don't know where to go because they don't know what keywords to talk off of. The keywords were protection, safety. Mr. President, I'm feeling doubtful and skeptical about safety and protection. Could you tell me a little bit about how the body might react to what you're recommending? Are you recommending this? See, let him walk on the plank a little bit more, because he started walking on the plank and asked her to pull him back, and her jaw was dropped too.
Oh yeah, no, nobody was equipped in that moment to try to course correct where that ship was steering. No. It wasn't gonna happen.
So, Mr. President, I'll be a reporter. Mr. President, you're just doing the best you can to come up with ideas because you want to fight for the virus. Is that correct? Yes. And you have the thought that disinfectant inside the body might be a good idea. Is that what your thought is? He has to say yes. And now he can't backtrack. Now he can't say it was sarcastic. Now he can't say false media.
Right.
He's going like, yeah, I'm just coming up with ideas here. Oh, so you really don't want to take it verbatim. You want to leave that up to the doctors. Is that correct? Yes. Doctor so-and-so, could you tell us if that would be safe or the body would be protected if we did oh, no, we can't do that. See?
Well, that's the part the president wouldn't like, though, because it would contradict him. But the first part, I like where you were going there, because it just gets it makes it very clear, and the president wouldn't be able to spin his way out of it. He wouldn't even know what happened before he agreed to those questions. Like
that's
you said.
Correct.
Yeah,
that's correct.
Boy, can we get some skills?
Can we get some skills, right? Yeah. People have got to get some skills. All right, Tom, this has been a great episode. Thank you everybody for listening, and check out more of our podcasts, and it's just a delight to have you on our journey.
Yep. Don't forget, everybody, you can find all the blog posts and see the videos at billstierle.com, or also, if it's easier for you to remember, purchasingtruth.com. Thanks so much, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you for listening to this Purchasing Truth podcast. We trust that you have enjoyed this engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Our hope is that you've received value, found clarity, and broadened your truth perspective in this episode. If you did, leave us a review or visit our website, purchasingtruth.com. Join us again for another informative and content-rich discussion here at the Purchasing Truth podcast. Don't just accept whatever information comes your way. Join the discussion. Discover your own voice. Purchase your own truth.